Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Parity Presents. For those who don't know me, my name is Mo, and I am the person responsible for it. So, for those also who don't know, Parity is a gender equality network dedicated to driving inclusion in the boardroom, spotlighting women in leadership. We support women across different tech sectors, whether it's fintech, health tech, green tech, ed tech, and AI. We also just launched our website, so feel free to scan the QR code right next to me and learn more about our history, how to join us, and any of our future events. But for now, Parity Presents will be our virtual newsletter, and we will have it once a month where I will be interviewing one of a female in leadership and learn more from their experience. So for September, the topic is about mentoring and networking. And I couldn't find anyone as good as for this topic as the one and only Liz Gazda. So she is the CEO of Embr Labs, and I'm looking forward to it. Hi, Liz. How are you? Thank you for
Hi,
joining me.
Mo. Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. So, for those who don't know Liz, she's the CEO of Embr Labs. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself as well as Embr Labs.
Thank you, Mo. Hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Gazda. I'm the CEO of Embr Labs. We produce this beautiful wearable device that you wear on the inside of your wrist, and it actually produces a temperature sensation. Well, it turns out that temperature is a unique neural pathway to the brain, and so it's capable of doing many things. It helps with sleep, it helps with stress, it helps with general thermal comfort if you're too hot or you're too cold. But we've also discovered that it's a very effective at stopping a menopausal hot flash in its tracks. So this is addressing a huge unmet need for the 1.1 billion women in menopause globally.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we'll get more into that later as well, but just to know a little bit and tell the audience a little bit about your background, being from No Flight, which was a music startup, to finding your own fintech to help Gen Z people, which is called Doni, and today being a CEO of Embr Labs.
Certainly,
Yeah.
Mo. Yeah, actually, my career started at a very big global company that most people know, Philips, in the Netherlands. And after working in a big company for quite some time, I realized it wasn't satisfying my entrepreneurial spirit. And so after leaving a couple of big companies, the first company I co-founded was with a few past colleagues, and we founded Noteflight, which is the world's only browser-based music notation program. So it allows anyone to open up a browser and create a musical score and share it with anybody in the world. That was the first startup I did. The second one was an international fintech company, really serving the Gen Z market. And this was a time when everybody was looking at the millennial market and building fintech for them, but the Gen Z market was very interesting. So that was the second project. So Embr Labs is the third project, and I would say by far the most interesting one that I've done so far.
Yeah, I love that. And who has inspired you being like going from a big tech company like Philips to being more into your entrepreneurial self? And yeah, with that being said, who inspired you or who was your biggest inspiration to be who you are today?
Oh, I think it was one of my professors in the Netherlands who was a Belgian national. And he saw that I was always coming up with new ideas and bumping my head against the wall at a big company and not finding my way there. And he said, why don't you try something on your own? It was a scary jump at first, but once
Yeah.
you do it one time, it's far easier to do it the second time.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with him?
Absolutely. We're, 30 years later, we are on the phone every week together. So it's a long relationship.
I love that. And why did you decide getting more into the health tech and becoming like the CEO of Ember?
Yeah, I'm a former competitive athlete, and I've always been very interested in the mechanics of the body and how you use food for fuel and how sleep plays a part. I wanted to be a doctor, but that felt too complicated. And so when this opportunity came up, it was the best of both worlds, being an entrepreneur and focusing on the human body.
Yeah. What sport did you play?
I was a competitive soccer player.
I love that. Where did you go to school?
I studied at UC Berkeley as an undergrad, and then I went
Mhm.
overseas and received my MBA in Europe because I really wanted an international focus.
I love that. Perfect. Well, obviously, you've been in different tech sectors, whether like
Mhm.
music, finance, as well as like health tech. What has
Mhm.
been some of your biggest challenges that you've faced during your career as like a woman in leadership, and what were some of the takeaway lessons that you took from that?
Yeah, maybe I'd like to focus first on just general challenges that anybody faces because that's important. And I think anytime you're trying to do something new and avant garde, cutting edge, like we're doing now at
Yeah.
Embr Labs and at the previous companies, you're always going to bump up against naysayers or people who don't believe something is possible. I mean, I
Hmm.
can remember coming back to the United States and asking why nobody was texting in the US, and somebody telling me, well, texting is never going to happen in the US. That's a European thing. Um,
Hmm.
it's, or hearing nobody's ever going to watch a TV program on their phone, right? So
Interesting.
when you're touching the edges of innovation, there are always going to be people who say that's never going to happen.
Hmm.
So that's the
Yeah.
that's the first challenge, is how do you gently take somebody down the path of realizing that something is inevitable, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
As a woman, you're operating in an ecosystem that's primarily men, and that's the biggest challenge. Is that, for example, I'm pitching to male investors about the experience of women in menopause.
Yeah.
A male
Hmm.
investor, unless he has someone um, if he has someone that's going through the process, he's not going to identify with the problem. So I've had to find ways to explain things to disinterested parties in their own terms. For example, I've had to explain to men that they have experienced a hot flash, and they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, well, that's impossible. I'm not a woman. I've never experienced a hot flash." And
Yeah.
I say, okay, this is to investors. I want you to picture yourself in your Tesla driving down the road. You go through a red light, you have a near miss accident, you pull over to the side of the road and you're safe. But what do you feel in your body? Oh, yes, I feel a rush of heat up into my torso and tingling in my extremities and heart palpitations and flushing. And then I say, well,
Yeah.
that's exactly what a menopausal hot flash is. It's that experience. It's an overactivation of your sympathetic nervous system. Oh, okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
So, you have to become adept at translation of ideas.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I remember when we had our first call and you told me about that. It was a thought that never came to my mind really. Like I always knew that menopause like is very not difficult, but it's very challenging in terms also of like hot flashes as well as like memory fog and a lot of
Mhm.
different symptoms. But when you brought it back to the perspective of like something that may happen to us, like it made a lot of sense. And I love that. And how did you expand your network in general, and like whether while you were getting funding for Embr Labs, or like how did you get Embr Labs to get out there and get more popular?
I see a note that somebody, Carla, said that this product could be good for anxiety. It's excellent for anxiety. It's the same mechanism of action, Carla. So we see
Hmm.
people with anxiety using it. Um,
Yeah.
the question was, tell me again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was asking about how did you expand your network, and
Mm.
basically whether it's like for you pitching to VCs or getting Embr Labs right out to being where it is right now.
So I think there's formal networking and informal networking. And I much
Hmm.
prefer informal networking because it's more organic and natural. So
Yeah.
in any role, everybody has to network. Has to. You meet partners, you meet investors, you meet suppliers. That's what I would call formal networking. Some of the best
Mhm.
contacts I've made come from a random conversation because you're just at a coffee shop, somebody's standing next to you, and instead of ignoring them, you actually
Yeah.
strike up a conversation. The number of amazing contacts I've made on airplanes, in airports, at coffee shops have really been incredible. So I don't really like the term networking because it feels forced.
Uh-huh.
I think it's very important not to feel the pressure to network, but to gravitate towards people who are like you.
I love that. And yeah, no, I love that. That is a very great idea. And what has been in the last week or two, what was one of the most informal conversation that you've had just randomly that you still think of till now?
Okay, so I was at a trade show and met a gentleman, and I just started saying we were raising money and how challenging it is for a woman to raise money because only about 1% to 2% of venture capital is deployed into female-led organizations. And he
Hmm.
said, I have a ton of contacts that I can make for you. I found out yesterday that I'm going to be talking to one of the biggest family offices in the United States
Wow.
just through that random conversation. And it's all about asking for help. I think we're so reluctant to ask for help because it makes us feel vulnerable, but actually people
Hmm.
want to help. It feels good to help somebody.
Yeah. That's very interesting. You all of that you found just on the train. Interesting. And what, as like a CEO of Embr Labs, what is like some of the bias you see towards any femtech companies?
Oh, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really that investor bias. I'll tell you, I've been pitching to investors, and then they will say, oh, well, women's health is a niche market. And
Yeah.
I have to remind them that it's 51% of the population. That's what we're talking about, women's health. And what you're seeing now is that women's health, many aspects of women's health has been so overlooked for so long that
Hmm.
what is happening is with the needs and with the needs of the women and the available technologies we have, iPhones in your pocket and Bluetooth connectivity and
Yeah.
all of this innovation, women's health is leapfrogging men's health
Yeah.
because of the need and the innovation.
Yeah.
I'll describe one story. We had a hard time pitching to investors and talking about this multi-billion-dollar opportunity in menopause. They weren't listening. We found out that some of the users of our product were men going through prostate cancer because they have hot flashes. So we ran a clinical study with Dana-Farber on hot flashes in men going through prostate cancer. The reason we did that was to get male investors to pay attention to us. So 1.1 billion women in hot flashes was not good enough. We had to go study men having hot flashes,
Yeah.
which is the number of men having hot flashes is minuscule compared to women having hot flashes. But it changed that conversation fundamentally.
Wow. Have you ever pitched it towards VCs as like the prostate cancer hot flash idea, or?
Yes, yes, we have.
Mhm.
It's
I
also
love that.
very effective for women suffering from breast cancer because they're put on drugs that force them into a state of early menopause that's very impactful on their quality of life. So,
Yeah. No, I remember when we had the chat and you told me about the prostate cancer and hot flashes, and that I remember telling every male person in our office about it, and everyone was very shook because it's not very well known. It's just everyone usually relate hot flashes to menopause and then women, and then they just don't think about like men can have the same symptom as well. But yeah,
yeah.
great. In terms of like mentoring, do you have a mentor at the moment or someone that you look up to?
Yeah, I really rely on that long-term relationship that I've had with my Belgian friend. He
Hmm.
has seen me navigate my career and is able to help me reflect on if I'm having a problem or if I'm struggling. He'll take me back to a prior time when a problem was solved and give me the confidence to move through it. So having someone who understands the stages of life and different career modes you've been through, I think is very helpful. But quite frankly, I've also learned to be my own mentor.
Ooh.
That,
Uh-huh.
ultimately you need to be able to rely on yourself and your instincts. And
Hmm.
so I try to also find that grit and resilience within myself and be able to listen to my inner voice and gut
Hmm.
feeling, which
Yeah.
is really a gift to women. Women have strong instincts. Um, they have a different way of interacting with their left and right brain than men do. And so I really
Yeah.
encourage women. Many times they know the answer to the question that they're seeking. They're just maybe afraid to say it out loud.
Hmm. And how did you come to that realization that you wanted to be your own mentor?
I think it wasn't that I wanted to, it's that I discovered that I could. That I
Uh-huh.
was it was really starting to trust my instincts, because it was happening over and over again that I asked a bunch of opinions, I got those opinions, it was very data driven, but in the end my gut feel was kind of spot on. It was learning to trust it, and I think I do
Yeah.
that much more now.
Hmm. I love that. And in terms of mentoring wise, do you think it's beneficial for female leaders that have that entrepreneurial mindset and want to grow to have another female mentor, or do you think that that does not really matter?
I think good mentorship comes in all shapes and sizes and genders,
Hmm.
but it does help as a woman to speak to other women about their experience,
Yeah.
because some interactions in the workplace and in the ecosystem can make you take a step back or doubt yourself.
Hmm.
It's nice to hear that other women have those experiences.
Yeah. Hmm. I love that. And are you currently a mentor to someone?
Yes, I'm a mentor to many people, and I really enjoy it.
Uh-huh. Who is
It
one
beca-
of you? Yeah, you go.
I I think mentoring actually gives more to me, because I learn by helping process challenges and problems. I'm able to reflect some of those lessons back in my own life. So it's really a gift. Um, right now,
I love.
I'm mentoring all the other employees in my company. I have of course, strong belief in that the organizational pyramid is actually tipped upside down, and I am there to serve my employees. I'm not at the top; I'm at the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
this is a known philosophy called servant leadership.
Hmm.
I think it's very powerful. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm every day I'm at their service. But beyond the Embr Labs, I work with a number of female entrepreneurs in femtech specifically, because
Hmm.
they're up against the same battles. For example, one woman I know who produces a fertility device is not allowed to advertise on Facebook because it's perceived as getting way too close to female body parts.
Oh, is that from Facebook itself? Like, is that like a
Yep,
guideline?
yep, that's right. And so while you can access pornography, no problem, if you start advertising a device for women's sexual health or for women's fertility, if it looks like something that could be a sex toy, they are forbidden to advertise. And this battle has been fought for the last 5 years for these femtech companies.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't aware that you can't advertise a fertility device on that. And in
Yeah.
terms of like, if there's one female leader that you would recommend me to speak with, who would it be and why?
I'm really inspired by Ariana Huffington. I
Hmm.
think she's an incredible woman who keeps reinventing herself.
Yeah,
She's somebody who really inspires me
I love that.
as a business leader, as someone who is able to identify trends.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And if there's one advice that you have for female leaders in the workspace, what would it be?
Trust yourself.
It's
Trust
it's
yourself.
very, yeah.
Trust your feelings. Trust your gut. That's a gift that's been given to us. And also, if you want to be feminine, if you want to be a woman, be a woman. Don't try to be a man. It doesn't make sense. Don't try to fit yourself into some false mode.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Be true to yourself.
Yeah. It's a very simple advice, but very powerful at the same time that I don't
Um,
think a lot of people think about it. And in terms of the advice, what's one of the best advice that you've ever received?
oh, I have to think about that for a moment. But someone told me something a long time ago. So you have to bear with me because this was in the pre-internet television day. So you can extrapolate that to social media. Okay.
Hmm.
But I worked for
Okay.
this man who was a lawyer, and he said, Elizabeth, don't ever do anything or say anything that you would not mind being broadcast on the 6 o'clock news. And I
Uh-huh.
think that's really helpful sometimes to think about, okay, is what I'm about to say or do um,
Mhm.
something that I'm proud of? And the other piece
Yeah.
of advice that I got that I say this often to my team is it's okay to fail.
Hmm.
It's okay to be wrong, but don't be dishonest and don't be unethical. Because you can walk back from failure or making a
Hmm.
mistake. You can't walk back a breach in your integrity. Oh, Carla is totally on board with me.
I know Carla does enjoy your conversation.
Oh, yeah. Look at Paul said the same thing. The New
Yeah.
York Times rule. Yeah. Now it's probably like the Twitter rule or
Yeah.
something. But I'm too
Yeah.
old for that.
No, you're not. Don't worry. And if there's one, let's bring a little bit of like, if there's one meal that you can only eat for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Mo, that is so easy. It's a
Oh, what
cheese
is it?
it's a cheese plate.
Just cheese?
Like a cheese plate. You know, when you go to a restaurant and you have the
Hmm.
option to get like an assortment of cheese and a glass of wine, you know,
Yeah.
I I I could eat that the rest of my life. I'm saying that now, but I love
Hmm.
cheese.
I love that. What's your favorite cheese?
It's got to be Gouda, Old Amsterdam,
That is a
an
good
old
one.
Gouda. That
Hmm.
is a good one.
I love that. And just while we're wrapping up, how can people reach out to you or learn more about Ember Wave?
Yeah, I would encourage anyone to try the product. It comes in rose gold and black. As I said, it's great for a number of things. You
Mhm.
can purchase it from our website. You can purchase it from Amazon. Now, the benefit of going to our website is you can rent the device for $20 a month. So that's only available on our website.
Yeah, so definitely everyone check out emberlabs.com if you are interested in learning more. And Liz, thank you so much for joining me and being here today. It's been such a pleasure. And before we end our live, I just wanted to bring one last surprise guest to speak about Parity's 100 Women in Tech report. So please welcome with me the founder of Parity, Cassie Johnson. Hi, Cassie.
Hi. Hello. Surprise guest. That's so funny. Well, thanks for bringing me on. And yeah, hi everyone. Nice to see you. Firstly, thank you so much, Mo, and thank you, Liz, for brilliant conversation. I think we hear the stats on the percentage of VC money that's apportioned to women so often, but it's really interesting to hear what that looks like in practice, and how important your network is. As Mo mentioned earlier in the session, our community has a brand new home, a new website. So to celebrate, we'll be running a campaign to spotlight 100 women in high impact tech. If you are, or you know, a woman whose work is positively impacting the tech ecosystem, I ask you to consider nominating her or yourself for this spotlight. We will be selecting 100 leaders for the fintech, health tech, green tech, and ed tech markets, respectively. And our unique report will be shared with leading businesses and VCs at the forefront of these change-making sectors. One really special thing about this list is that every single nominee will have the opportunity to nominate someone else. The philosophy at the core of Parity is that we have to lift as we climb. We have to, as women and as men and as male sponsors and allies, intentionally find ways to bring people with us up the ladder as we're growing our careers. So you can scan the little QR code that's on the screen to head directly to our nominations page. You can find our website and my contact details through LinkedIn. If you want to talk more in depth on how spotlighting someone either in your team or in your wider network could be impactful for you or for your business, I'm happy to give some more details. Thank you everyone so much for joining us for this new format of newsletter. Please be sure to sign up to receive the email summary that we'll be doing at the end of the month. And that's everything from me. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you next month.